So here's a
That's
suggestion,
fair.
and this is feel free to just tell me I'm full of it. But if you want in the future, um, well, let me back up. I'm writing what I think will be a fifth book for me, which is basically like on this neo-Stalinists. So Lacerdo, Grover Furr, and a few others who are like defending the Moscow trials. And it's not just like looking at the history and why they're stupid, but also like how it's all tied into conspiracy thinking. So I've read at this point 8 Grover Fur books in
My
under a
God.
week.
Ugh.
So if you're
How have you
actually
not gouged out your eyes?
Poor
I
Fred.
know I want to die, but so if you actually want an episode devoted to Grover Fur,
That's perfect.
I am completely read up on him. I unfortunately still have 3 of his books to read.
I've read Marx. I've read Engels. I've read Das Kapital.
The world is run by Trotskyists.
Hardcore Trotskyites.
How great an anti-American Marxist!
They're controlled by Trotskyists, as you put it, and these are the most evil, sick human beings on the face of the planet.
Four years into COVID, you're still figuring out how to hit record on a Zoom call. You're listening to The Left Opposition on Anchor.fm and Spotify. Welcome in, everybody. I am Aaron, and with me, as always, are my comrades and yours, Chris, Doug, Matthew, and Joe. How's everyone doing?
Hola.
Hanging
Fantastic.
in
The
there.
end of the world.
There we go. All right. That was a good intro. All right. Boom. We are ready today, folks. I'm feeling it. I feel the energy. Don't let that low energy into hello fool you. We're ready. And we got a doozy of a clip today. Aaron found this. Aaron, 1 to 10, how excited are you to show this off to the group?
I am super excited. So yeah, on the program today, we've got a video from Rathbone. Rathbone, those of you who have heard of this guy, he's actually been doing really great videos on the Israel-Palestine genocide. I was going to say war or conflict, but you can't keep falling into that trap.
You were right the first time. Yeah.
Yeah, the genocide against Palestinians. He's been doing a really good job on a lot of stuff like that until he had to open his mouth when someone doesn't think that China maybe isn't the light of the and a hope for socialist world revolution.
What?
Oh, Lord.
Boy. Yeah, you guys, Chris and I watched this.
And we're seeing Comrade Larry 1917. Sounds like a good screen name. I'm all ready. So far, so good. Well, all right, let's see Comrade Larry.
That people read, is China an imperialist country?
White liberal West.
Okay, so is China an imperialist country by a guy named N.B. Turner?
Okay, well, yeah, they are.
At first, I thought that was like a non-binary superhero. But no, that's actually an author.
Oh, okay.
Named N.B. Turner. He wrote a book on is China imperial. I have not had a chance to check it out.
Wait, Doug, have
but,
you read that book? I don't know if you read books, but
I haven't read that particular book.
okay. Just check. All right. If Doug hasn't read it, no one's read it. So, okay, that's all I need to know.
So anyway, this guy sounds like a Marxist. And by that, I mean, obviously a Western leftoid. Anyone who criticizes China is obviously a liberal.
Nothing but a dirty leftoid.
Yeah. So white liberal Westoids living in Ohio in the imperial core. What right do we have to criticize China?
Oh, wait. Leave Matt out of this. Matt's a good guy.
I don't know. I live in Ohio.
I feel attacked on your behalf, Matt. Then who's this? Rath. All right. Let Rath on. Clean slate. All right. Let's start.
Let him speak for himself.
Let's have an open mind here.
Okay.
Living in Ohio in the imperial core try not to shit on third world countries who are mobilizing against the economic policies wrought by U.S. imperialism challenge impossible. It's Comrade Larry 1917, folks, not Comrade Larry 2024, because Comrade Larry only applies 1917 revolutionary theory and practice to the present day world.
What?
Wow, that was a mouthful. Is China's a third world country? Is that really? He's
Actually, according to the definition, it would be second world.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think people still kind of think of it as third world, but that's
Well, he
But
didn't
there are
mention-
still 5 nominal Marxist-Leninist countries, and China's obviously the biggest one.
Yeah.
I mean, there
Well,
were.
this-
He also never mentioned China. He just said third world countries mobilizing against U.S. imperialism. When the
Okay.
original statement was, why you got to read theory on why China is imperialist. And it's like, nope, that's not what he said. But also, yeah, the idea that 1917 revolutionary theory is not applicable to the modern day. Oh, I'm sorry. Have capitalist relations completely changed over the last 100
Yeah.
years?
Well,
I guess
so
there's
is
no
that
longer a
what-
proletariat or
You hear
workers of
this
the world.
over and over from these folks.
Is that what Rathbone was saying?
Yeah,
I kind
'cause-
of like didn't.
That's what he said.
we
Yeah.
can back it
Yeah.
up. All right, this is
Okay.
yeah,
No,
Instagram.
there's Instagram is stupid. There's no timeline audio
Wait,
thing.
you kids can't do this?
I can't. I don't know how to rewind it.
I don't either.
Maybe I missed
No.
something. There's
I
no,
don't
there's
even
no
have
bar.
Instagram.
So basically, he's saying like, yeah, you're using 1917 revolutionary theory and you're applying it to 2024. How many times have we heard this from like
Right.
liberals who?
So Lenin was wrong, unless
Yeah.
it's just in the one context and nowhere else. There are no such thing as universals. Just throw it out.
Nothing like communists getting rid of 1917. That's a bad year. Okay. 1917, Lenin, that was over 50 years ago. We're not even going there anymore.
Nothing
So
to
good.
do.
I'm
It was
glad
so,
this
it
guy.
was so yesterday. It was so last
Yeah,
week.
he probably in a
that's a
juke
very American thing to do, actually. Like how
Yeah.
the historical memory in this country is like, so that was 5 minutes ago. Let's not care about it.
Exactly.
So in criticizing Western leftoids, this person actually has the most American attitude towards theory.
It's almost nationalist, his thing of like, you're from Ohio. Dude, where are you from? Like, I don't
No
know.
kidding.
Florida? Like,
Well,
you're
that's
in America
essentially
too.
that's essentially the crux of his argument. Is like, you're American, you have no right to criticize how China carries out.
This
their
is
socialism.
identity politics on a weirdly
Yeah, it's like
whatever level.
2 + 2 = 4, no matter
But
where
you're
you
obviously from Hong Kong or Beijing and are speaking on behalf of your people, is what you're trying to tell me with the big hair and the. I'm sorry, I can't get over this guy.
So if someone like
yeah.
parrots his position on China and happens to be in Ohio, are they like, have they lost the stigma of being a Western leftoid?
Maybe.
But what
I
if
guess-
like a Chinese person in China, obviously, criticizes China? Are they like made into a Western leftoid?
They're self-hating. They're self-hating Chinese, obviously.
Okay.
They're counter-revolutionary.
Yeah. I don't know about these Eastern
they're
Marxists
fed.
like him, but I don't know what, the Eastern Marxism, I don't trust it. That's all I'm saying. If they're going to attack
This
Western,
guy
I'll
is
make
like
up.
bleach white. My God,
Yeah.
it's like I have to turn down the
He
contrast.
has
on
a
my screen.
surfboard in his background, it looks like. I mean, come on. This guy, Michael Landon here,
This guy is
you
so
know,
pasty. I'm pretty sure the surfboard is just for decoration, my friend.
I'm sure he probably got that in the East because, all right.
Yeah, I watch a good deal of Rathbone, and it's a little surprising how reductively he said that. Honestly,
Yes.
I
yeah.
get that he's better though. That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is not a good introduction, but maybe we'll watch a good one after. Therefore, we
Maybe
can.
hey, keep an open mind, Chris.
Yeah, play a better one if you got one because
No,
I don't want it.
that's why I'm playing this, is because like
Yeah.
this was genuinely disappointing from
Yeah,
someone
I
that
do
I actually
wanna-
liked.
No, I read
I do
that.
want to add, because I think that there is a worthwhile point, buried within that sometimes is made where it's like, I do think people sitting in comfort in the West will be like, well, Hamas shouldn't be violent or whatever,
Yeah.
like that,
I know
that
what you mean,
whole
yeah,
thing. And it's
right.
like, well,
Yeah.
yeah, you don't have a leg to stand on in terms of like, I know how the Viet Cong should have behaved,
Right.
So I do get that on a certain level, but yeah,
Like
again,
I went
think
through
he
economic
was-
sanctions. I couldn't go to Applebee's during the pandemic. I understand sanctions too. Like that. That's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
That's.
Yeah, but someone who's criticizing, say, like the encroachment of like market relations into China and like the erosion of like all like the social safety net and whatnot in China, that's a lot different criticism than obviously. Yeah, and I know you mean it that you don't mean it that way, like than criticizing like the Vietnamese liberation forces or what have you. It's like you know, you got to look at the content of what they're saying, and you know what, sometimes like the truth is the truth, no matter if you're in the United States or China or Japan or wherever.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, how very Marxist of him. He's dismissing 1917 revolutionary theory. Let's see what he has to say about that.
Okay.
How very Marxist of him.
The Dengist counter-revolution resulted in...
No, Comrade Larry 1917, put your laptop away. Talk to me using your own words. How is China imperialist? I can
I can tell
Put
you.
the laptop away and break your glasses. What? Come on.
Do you want me to go through what I think China, how they are imperialist?
Okay.
I mean, like the proletariat is international, capitalism is international, the bourgeoisie is international, and so that's why we have to fight on an international basis.
That sounds pretty right.
This is my point. This is what I'm ultimately like. China doesn't get a free pass for having red in their flag.
Yeah.
You know?
And Deng was really bad. Deng destroyed the planned economy of China. Like,
yes.
No, Deng is not good. Larry's going to be our guest host next week. All right. I'm announcing it here, folks.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get him on.
Let's get Larry on. Larry,
let's do it.
For two, Larry. You're doing great. All right.
So, I just did a little bit of research here. Let's see. China's inaction during Vietnam letting the U.S. steamroll the country, yet the Vietnamese workers prevailed. No thanks to China, who subsequently invaded Vietnam after the U.S. pulled out. China was the first to recognize Pinochet as the legit ruler of Chile after a U.S.-backed coup ousted socialist president Salvador Allende.
Oh my God, China.
Okay, but that was the 70s, right? Like, what
about
China today?
Deng
Obviously, China's had time to kind of evolve, and you know, like nothing is ever stagnant, right? That's something that you know.
Who hasn't supported a right-wing military junta once in a while? You know.
So let's see. As of this year, China houses 814 billionaires compared to about 800 in the USA. There are 135 Chinese companies on the Fortune 500 list. Out of the top 100 banks in the world, Chinese banks occupy 20 of those rankings. And in 2022, Chinese banks were the top lenders in the world. So China dominates or nearly dominates the world in terms of financial monopolies, just barely trailing in most cases behind the United States. In Q3 of 2023, China's foreign direct investment outflow was 53 billion compared to that of the United States at 110 billion. Foreign direct investment is essentially a country's export of capital. So some of these, some of this might seem familiar to you. We're sort of going through Lenin's list of imperialism, you know, the monopoly and the dominance of
this is very 1917.
I know, this is
We're not
ridiculous,
talking
yeah.
1917. That's out. All right.
The Belt and Road Initiative, a lot of these folks see it as like, you know, expansion of Chinese socialism into other countries. But like, if your socialism means, you know, it's a way to create new markets for China's excessive steel, cement, and aluminum as a way to offset their current real estate bubble. Right. So 70% of loans to countries within the Belt Road Initiative, it contains requirements to use Chinese materials, labor, and equipment. And so it's not like it's a local job creation thing either, right?
No.
And so some countries they're unable to pay back these loans. So, for instance, Sri Lanka signed with a Chinese firm a 99-year lease on the port of Hambantota. Chinese export of finance capital into Africa massively exploded in the last 20 years with their acquisition of African natural resources like oil, iron, copper, tin, gold, cobalt, uranium, and timber. African workers, on the other hand, see very little reward for this. There are tensions with the Chinese bosses on the ground who are hostile to labor unions. The port.
So this is the British East India Company, right?
No,
You're talking about.
when
are we going to talk about China? I want to hear about progressive China.
These are Chinese capitalist firms that are investing and spreading socialism.
I didn't say British East India Company. This is just sounds like it's repeating the same things from the 19th century, Aaron. This is ridiculous. Western Marxist.
The port in Bagamoyo, Tanzania, is the largest port in East Africa, where China is building a Marxist naval base to protect their Marxist interests in the Indian Ocean. It will be operated with Chinese super tankers, importing Chinese manufactured goods while exporting resources from Chinese-owned Marxist mines and gas fields, transported to the port with Marxist Chinese built roads, railways, and pipelines built with Chinese equipment and union-busted African labor. Zambia
I want to see the
compromise.
international.
I could continue. Do you want me to keep going? I can go. Keep going.
I think what you're trying to say is that you have a distorted view of Eastern Marxism. It's a little bit different. Some of the things are different, but that's terrible.
No, but then again, I'm a Western leftoid, right? Like Zambia compromise. They were privatized.
Go back to Ohio, Aaron. Okay, we're not hearing it today. All right.
No, you don't want to hear about the Zambia compromise that were privatized after the country became inundated with IMF debt. And
it was the people's privatization.
And
okay, the working class support privatization. If you knew that,
they were privatized by being scooped up for cheap by Chinese investors. Right. This is what I'm saying. Is like the international bourgeoisie colludes and collaborates and sticks together. Who knew?
I am blown away at this.
Yeah, there's a quote by I think it's some anarchist, actually, like Tolstoy or something, but it's like, I don't feel much better about being hit with a stick if it's called the people's stick. It's
Yep.
Yeah.
Finally.
Okay, so he says he can quote books too. So what's Rathbone got to say?
Okay, here we go.
Quote books too. Here's one that's actually written in the 21st century. China's resistance.
It said in brackets, not Kautsky or Lenin.
Right. We're doing away with any Marxists in the past. None of it.
Because
2024, baby. We are throwing out the baby in the bathwater.
Because none of it is relevant anymore.
No, it's all moved on.
I mean, why even call yourself a Marxist? Does he call himself a Marxist? I don't know.
Probably. I don't know. Probably.
So is this guy pushing contemporary theory, or is he saying, oh no, the contemporary practice, or neither?
Yeah,
because he's already thrown out the baby with the bathwater.
Let's finish the video. China's resistance to such distortion. So again, throw out Kautsky and Lenin.
Such distortions has made it a target of U.S. economic attack as a rival and hence enemy, subject to tariffs, quotas, and other policies strictly illegal under international law. Its remarkable economic success over the past generation has not been welcomed, but is opposed by U.S. diplomats and coincidentally by Comrade Larrys of the world. So you have that in common with U.S. government officials.
So if you criticize Chinese imperialism, you are on the same side as government officials. So you're basically a Fed if you dislike what China's doing.
Lovely.
Oh, well, that was a bit much. And
congratulations for siding with the State Department.
In the United States and China are rivals. So he's now discovering that rivalry exists in capitalist free trade. Like, there's rivals everywhere. Like, I don't get this. Is nothing unique to China. They don't like competition.
He's missing the point of when we talk about China.
Right.
He thinks it's like we're China bad because of capitalism. It's like, no, China bad because of imperialism. And like no one's saying that the US is any better. The US is by far the worst imperialist, most violent, it's not even remotely comparable, but like the point is, just because a country has red in its flag does not make it like the fucking savior in light of the world. That's what we're saying.
One of the things I think breaks these people out a little bit better is if you think in terms of imperialism versus anti-imperialism versus capitalist versus anti-capitalist, you tend to trip them up. Because if you, like you said, Aaron, you just pointed out a whole laundry list of capitalist characteristics of China in the modern day. Okay. And, I think that that breaks it out a lot more clearer than the sort of, I don't know, who's imperialist versus anti-imperialist, the U.S. versus the rest of the world. Third world, maybe it's like third worldism. I don't know.
One thing too, I want to bring up, since you were listening to a Trotskyist podcast here, everyone, and I'm speaking for everyone here, but because I know everyone here, that's why, but we support the Chinese Revolution of 1949 as one of the greatest events in history. We absolutely do support it. They abolished landlordism, capitalism, feudalism, and ended the practice of foot binding in China. Those are all massively progressive things. The Iron Rice Bowl, great programs, giving back land to the peasantry, good stuff. Okay. And that's where it kind of starts dry. But then by the 50s, things get weird. And where China is in 2024 is that, like I said, the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party of China, in my opinion, is a mass bourgeois party in 2024. This man is supporting a country that right now is privatizing the last of its state-owned enterprises. They gave up the monopoly on free trade around 2001. Like, the planned economy is going away rapidly. There's a very small amount of it left. Like I said, Aaron points out they only have red flags. That's about the only thing. And the red flag has 4 stars, 5 stars on it. Don't ask about some of those stars that shouldn't be on it, but like, China.
And there's also the fact that China, off and on in the, the 50s and 60s, they did various international aid, to varied degrees. Some of it, they had some very bad policies, of course, but they stopped pretty much any form of internationalism by the 70s. And what are they doing now? They don't even like mass print Marxist books. At least the Soviet Union did that until the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't. It's like like when they talk about Chinese economic successes, for who? Like, what is the success? Is it just like, a bunch of skyscrapers going up, having nice trains? Okay, that's can be nice, but it's like, is it like, are you abolishing like class distinctions? Are you furthering the development of socialism? Because it seems like you're just celebrating
trying
like
to end the blockade in Cuba, for example.
Yeah.
Like, why just smash through the blockade in solidarity? Surprise me, China. But yeah.
I mean, it just seems like, they just seem like a bunch of people who could easily be on Wall Street watching like, the increase of the productive forces, with it, just like without asking like for whom. It's like they don't even care about the content. They just like, oh, look at these stats. China is developing, which is true. It is, but it's like, are you increasing working class control over the country? Are you developing the planned economy?
Right.
Because it just seems to me like they're just uncritically celebrating this. They just look at the surface level. And as Marx said, if we judge things just by their appearance, then science would be unnecessary. You got to look underneath what's the real content of what's going on. And I personally don't know who this person is. I don't know what party or organization they're affiliated to at all, but having experience with the various Marxist, Leninist, and Marxist groups, it's like they have such a superficial, surface level, and really uncritical view of like China or wherever. It's really embarrassing. Like I couldn't see any of them producing a scientific analysis of it, because there could be debates to be had, like how much of the planned economy is left, what direction is China going. Are there factions in the Communist Party? You could have those debates. Is China imperialist? Is it capitalist? Is it a deformed worker state? You can have those debates. These people, they just want to cheerlead. And it's like, it's actually really embarrassing to listen to it. I don't like being associated with them. Like, I don't want people to think, oh, you're like the person in PSL or something. No, please don't put me in the same camp. And apologies if this person is not in PSL. I don't know, but PSL has a crappy take on China. So there you are.
As far as I know, he's just like an independent social media influencer. I actually don't know if he's Marxist or not.
Seems to try to be,
but he's really
a few of these people.
But like, this is a very common critique of or pushback whenever Marxists try to make like a sober analysis of world capitalist relations. It's like, well, no, if you criticize China, you're a Fed. So I guess we're all Feds.
Right.
Well, this is one of the questions I've always had, because, we have scads of analysis on the end of the USSR and, sort of the different takes on it. I've always wondered if watching China, we're sort of seeing what the USSR would have become in some respects had it survived into this era as it was. Because, I mean, those of us who recognize that it was a counter-revolutionary project after Lenin died also acknowledge that for a lot of people worldwide, it was also a symbol. And I'm just wondering, if China ever falls to another Western military government, I don't know what the arguments are going to look like. Some people look at Russia and say, well, they graduated from state capitalism to capitalism, whatever that means. I wonder what the arguments would be where China is concerned. And already they're spinning out all kinds of things, as we can see here, with regard to China, without that even happening.
All right. So he says, congratulations for siding with the State Department.
Congratulations for siding with the State Department. You are so brave. I understand that some of the poorest places on Earth being provided infrastructure by China is deeply upsetting to you. I'm sure that you've spent a lot of time in Ethiopia and you understand in great detail what's happening on the ground and what the people are going through. Of course, in practice, you also love supporting a unipolar U.S. world diplomacy because you're committed to creating political content that is shitting on the material opposition, the actual counter model to the unipolar U.S. dollar.
I'm so sick of hearing about fucking multipolarity.
God, the U.S. dollar, the yuan, new currency.
Yes.
This isn't how we're going to change things with a new currency,
multipolarity, you know, to kind of paraphrase Rick and Morty, it just sounds like inter-imperialist rivalry with extra steps.
Right.
It's like that's what they want. What do they want? To go back to like pre-World War I, where we have Germany, Britain, the U.S., etc.? It's also like, I feel like whenever I hear it from, and I don't know this person, but whenever I hear it online, I'm like, okay, you watched Fareed Zakaria maybe 10 years ago, some like douchebag bourgeois commentator on CNN. You liked a lot of what he said because he sounded sophisticated. So you painted it a little red, very thin. And there you go. That's multipolarity. It's just like, it's so superficial. Like, what are you going to fight for? A new capitalist power somewhere? Aren't you fighting for, if you're a Marxist, aren't you fighting for a class struggle, for socialism and communism? It's like, I don't want to have like inter-imperialist rivalry. I don't think that's actually a goal worth fighting for. Maybe that makes me a Fed. I don't know, but
sound like you're in the State Department.
I might be. I should see if my check cleared. By the way.
Yeah, well, go back to Ohio, Doug. Okay, this Eastern Marxist guy is building the new socialism with China. Apparently, of all the countries, China, the one with 800 billionaires in its party. That's it,
where I just outlined like all the things that China is doing to exploit other countries, but he's like, no, they're all getting free infrastructure. It's like, no, none of that shit's free. It comes with strings.
Yeah,
it comes with the extraction of
resources out quicker. That's all they're trying to do.
I haven't studied this super intensely, but like from what I've gathered, yeah, it is more of an infrastructure project than like, the US clearing the way for multinationals to come in, and then you have countries that are just like a mine and a road to a port, like
Right.
it seems like sure, China's doing more than that for these places, but
there is,
but yeah, I mean, sure, when you consider the rest of it, that like they have to use this and that Chinese corporation, and I know they've like forgiven certain loans and stuff. I also, I wonder with stuff like that where it's like, okay, did you forgive 3 loans so you could say you're forgiving loans and then the rest are still predatory? I don't know, but yeah, it's
every capitalist entity going back 500 years has always sold its railway and port as a boon to the civilization. They're bringing civilization to the heathen, when in fact they're looking to strip them dry of all of their resources. Yeah, it's always been cast that way. Unfortunately,
well, the EFF, the Economic Freedom Fighters Party, is who's also, I think, nominally Marxist-Leninist, or I don't know how hardline they are about any one faction, but like they have said stuff like, like we don't want to trade the US and Europe for China and Russia, that it's just a new master. So they might be a little more onto what's happening on the ground in Africa than even Rathbone.
Yeah.
And you can make a lot of the same arguments about Britain building the railroads in India during the peak of British imperialism. Like, oh yeah, they're building all this infrastructure for India. So I'm sorry this upsets you.
Right. I think that's the whole, and that's the point. Like, there's a great book some of us read in a reading group, which is always good, called Extracting Profit. That book really knocked me on my ass about what's going on in China, because I was very like, oh, Belt and Road, perfectly good, all on the like. Because you want to believe the best thing sometimes, but when you read about what's going on and taking ports, and it's really just speeding up the level of extraction quicker. I mean, like I said, they might build some schools. I'm sure they do that. They build some good things. That's good. But like, and the working class after the revolution can use those roads and use that infrastructure. I think that's good. But China's not really fomenting, like, revolution anywhere. It's just like a business transaction. That's all it is, which is kind of sad. But all right. Let's see. What else is this clip? We got more on this clip?
Oh,
God,
it's lots more.
Oh, Jesus.
Well done, comrade. This is what I mean when I say people are Marxist in name only. They uphold Marxism to the world, but they apply liberalism to themselves. This is a shining example of that. China stands as a...
Wait, is he talking about himself? Because, I mean, that's Marxist in name only, man. Like, if you're supporting China as like a communist leader in 2024, dude, that's liberalism. It's not. China is not communist. They're not revolution. The economy's not planned. Oh, sorry.
The level of meta discourse with some of these folks. I mean, it's pure projection, but
I get being desperate, but don't go that. Like, I know it's not great.
We desperately need shortcuts to the revolution, and they'll look anywhere that's pushing back against U.S. economic and military hegemony. And I can almost understand that, but like, again, like don't open your brain so much. Don't open your mind so much that your brain falls out.
Yeah, and you're criticizing this guy who's making Larry. What's the guy's name? Comrade Larry.
Larry, 1917.
He's given very mild, true criticism about Deng. Is it like, so far, Comrade Larry, you're all right, Larry. Way to go.
Rathbone could be Comrade Curly with that hair.
I think he's very handsome looking Marx, this guy.
Yeah.
A joke for as if my dad is listening.
China's success stands as a countermodel to that of the United States, is what he's saying here.
Well, I mean,
The United States has risen to world dominance through novel policies that were not anticipated by economists writing prior to World War I.
What? No, I think they
is that true?
World War I, they destroyed themselves. Like,
I mean, like the European colonial powers sort of collapsed after World War I. That's what the war was about. And the United States made out like a bandit selling weapons and ultimately participating in it. And then the stock exchange of the world moved to New York after World War I.
Yeah. And then World War II was another thing that happened, and that destroyed all of Europe and China. And then look at that. They were the sole world power. Like, these aren't novel policies. You just didn't get blown up in World War I and II. That was the novel policy.
It's that the U.S. has never got invaded by any of these countries and never actually were bombed into smithereens. They've always been like an imperialist power, but like it was more opportunistic than anything. The world wars, they just happened. Everything just collapsed around them. That's how they emerged.
Yeah, not a novel policy, but. All right, let's see what else this guy's got.
Anyway, so let's talk more about irrelevant theory and how none of this matters anymore.
Yep.
Indeed, prior to the 1970s, one therefore must do more than read Vladimir Lenin to perceive the dynamics of U.S. diplomacy over the past century. There's always reactionaries who sit on the sidelines, read books, and they love to try to convince us that things are moving too slow, too fast, they're not proceeding in the right manner or the right direction. Tell us you want to feel morally superior without sacrificing your privilege without telling us. You're basically saying that you have a monopoly on social change, but you conveniently don't have to do anything about that. Like, do you not realize that you are living in the imperial core? Shut the fuck up about China. Your work is cut out for you.
Whoa.
You do realize that, right?
Wow, those were some.
You know what?
words.
I'm going to try out this hairstyle. I know,
Matt, you're looking good. You've got that Ohio look.
Like,
that
yeah,
Eastern Ohio look that you have. It's sporting on you. Well done.
God.
Wow. He was talking so fast. I couldn't jot down the notes in time.
You always just rewatch the video.
So is Rathbone not on the sidelines? shit talking? Because it sounds like him and Comrade Larry are both on the sidelines. Because I don't know where in China he is, but I don't think he's actually working in a factory in the Xinjiang province right now. It's like saying Marxists shouldn't have opinions. Is that what? That's the most un-Marxist thing I've ever heard in my life.
It sounds like the
Basically
stay in your lane crap you sometimes hear from the
100%.
liberals.
Yeah.
If you're not X identity, you can't talk about X identity. Well, what if you've actually investigated it? What if you've thought about it for a long time? It's just like it really shuts down debate, and it's really kind of dumb. You know what?
Yeah.
Marx wasn't American. He was a European.
He was a
German. So why was
even
he
talking
writing
about
about the Civil War in the United States?
Yeah,
Why did he have opinions on that?
he should have stayed in his lane when he sent those letters to Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Ironically, Rathbone's kind of bastardizing Mao here, who emphasized the importance of, real life investigation and not relying solely on books.
Right.
And, shutting the fuck up when you don't know what you're talking about.
Right, no investigation, no right to speak. And
Yeah.
like this guy, Comrade Larry, sounds like he's done his investigation. He read that old 1917 theory stuff, and he seems to be pretty good.
And then you look at the world and be like, hey, this looks awfully familiar. This these competing imperialist powers that are emerging, and hey,
Well,
maybe
it's different, don't you know
like,
it?
Maybe
Westernist.
maybe unlike Lenin, maybe Kautsky was right. Maybe we will have ultra imperialism, and that the world would be free from war once the whole world is covered in the Belt and Road Initiative.
Man, what if we were wrong? Crap.
What if we were wrong?
Well, man, we could be. Probably not, but let's see.
How are you so lost on the principal contradiction in the society that you live in? It's not insightful or furthering the conversation to say that the material world falls short of the ideals. Well, no shit.
Okay, so first of all, he's saying that Deng never happened. Deng's counter-revolutionary push had no effect on China. Shut up and stop.
Well, he said shut the fuck up. So remember that. That's what.
First of all,
don't read books on Deng.
You don't have to read Lenin to realize Deng was counter-revolutionary. That's number one. Someone give me a number two.
Don't read books on Deng, and don't study China's history at all. They're perfect and flawless, and shut up about China.
Yeah,
I mean, like
it's not contributing to the conversation at all. Shut up, Marxist.
Was he implying that tariffs are illegal? Did he just say that? Like Joe Biden today just put tariffs on Japanese steel. Is there are you a State Department socialist for pointing that out? Like, not like he has things that just don't seem to go into anything. Like we live in the core, Che Guevara, I envy you North Americans. You live in the heart of the beast. Like, yeah, we live in the empire. So what this guy, Rathbone, saying to our friend here, Comrade Larry, 1917, is that because you live in America, you have no right to talk. That's his argument?
Pretty much, yeah.
That is not an argument.
You can only critique the U.S.
That
hegemony.
is like a liberal would do that shit to you. If you said, I'm not voting, because I'd be like, I'm not voting for Hillary Clinton. Oh, well, that's just your privilege not voting for the first female president of the United States. I'm like, no, she's a warmonger. And it's
Chris, his main point is shut up, stop talking.
I
don't know why you're still talking, Chris.
I know.
Just, you know what? Just listen to the man.
pretty clear.
All right.
Yeah.
Can we not
Got a point.
can we not criticize Israel? We live in the United States. What right do we have to talk about there?
Right. Who are you?
I could do that argument if I want.
Right.
Well, we do pay for everything there.
Yeah. And then he says people who read Lenin and then criticize on the sidelines. Yeah. Isn't that
It's what a lot of us
everybody
do, yeah.
in the United States on the left because we're not in China? So we read Lenin
like you
and
said about Marx before. Like Marx mostly wrote books. Like
yeah, people write stuff.
Yeah.
Good. Oh God, but wow. Well,
Anyway,
Rathbone.
are we done? Any final thoughts on?
I don't.
Oh, I hope you join
anything good of
PSL.
his?
You're a
What's a
Marxist
good
in the
one?
West equals no right to. I'm just looking through the comments now. If you're a Marxist in the West, you have no right to criticize China.
Is that what? And that was being serious, or is that me?
Yes.
That wasn't me saying it, right?
This person's image is of Lenin holding a cat.
Well, that's from 1917. So that obviously is someone who's very confused. That photo easily. No.
There's a lot of anti-communist comments that are are worth ignoring. Yes,
Yeah.
owning 70% of mines in the Congo and exploiting people in Congo is not imperialism.
That's
Yeah,
right.
this guy's right.
Finally, someone's talking. That guy probably is in China who's saying that. Very good. Well done.
This person's name's Krupskaya. They're probably cool.
Yeah.
What is this dingus propaganda?
Yay, Krupskaya.
Theory leftists will kill us all. No, I disagree with
No,
that.
I'm almost certain it's the non-theory leftists who are going to get us all killed. I promise you, it's them, not us. There you go.
Yeah, right. It makes some people's heads spin when you explain to them that Belt and Road isn't colonialism, actually. No, it's
Really?
not. It's not colonialism. It's imperialism.
Yeah, I know. It's
the
it's
Belt
an
and Road
ism.
imperialism.
Yeah. Why did he keep attacking Ohio? Nothing against Ohio. I've been to Ohio. Matt knows of Ohio. Ohio has its problems like the rest of us, but come on.
Anyway, a last comment I'll read is they're not giving developing countries infrastructure. They are building the infrastructure in exchange for cheap deals on natural resources. This comment is "I'm sorry, Auntie," and their avatar is Gandalf. Cheap deals on natural resources as well as the ownership and use of the infrastructure. Additionally, they invade their neighbors and where they are unsuccessful attempt to disrupt their political systems the same way the U.S. does. Vietnam, Tibet, Korea. They steal resources and undermine local autonomy the same way the U.S. does. Pointing that out isn't siding with the State Department. It's bad because it's the same imperialism as the USA, but with a red coat of paint so people like you don't pay attention to the here and now.
Did you write that, Aaron?
I did not.
Is that you, Aaron? That sounds like something Aaron would say. I'm just saying, Aaron. Come on.
Sorry. This is actually a really good one too. This comment from Tukhachevsky versus rightists. Imagine Lenin saying German Empire is the only material opposition to the British Empire, so we must support it.
Airtight.
Mic drop.
All right.
Okay.
I'm supporting this guy.
So as book readers, people who do nothing but read books.
I'm a sideline sitter myself.
On the sideline. Yeah, exactly. We probably pay attention to how the world works, which of course obviously is a useless skill. And
makes me feel good.
The Atlantic actually has a solution for that. So apparently there's a study going around that paying attention to the news is actually making people miserable.
Well, no shit. Yeah.
For many Americans, these claims sound self-evidently true. Information is good, knowledge is power, awareness of social ills is the mark of the responsible citizen. But what if they aren't correct? Recent studies on the link between political awareness and individual well-being have gestured towards a liberating, if dark, alternative. Sometimes, perhaps even most of the time, it is better not to know.
I like this because if I have cancer, I don't want to know. All right. I want the doctor to keep it to himself and make me think everything's fine. All right. Is this the end of the article? Because I think it's good. All right.
Well, I've always said I would feel better if I had a lobotomy too.
I think that goes for all of us.
I think after reading this article, we'll all want one, but all right. That's okay. So far, so good. I don't want no cancer, doc. Just lie to me.
Like taking a drug, learning about politics and following the news can become addictive, yet Americans are encouraged to do more of it, lest we become uninformed. Unless you have a job that requires you to know things, however, it's unclear what the news, good or bad, actually does for you beyond making you aware of things you have no real control over. Unless you have a job that requires you to know things. I love that line.
Yeah, I don't have to know anything. I just make mud pies in my backyard. I take a bunch of mud and I stack them into nice, neat pies. I don't need to know what's going on, but I make mud pies, so I don't need to know diddly squat.
Yeah, jobs like what? Like writing articles about the news?
Like, do you pay taxes? Well, guess what? Your money is going to be funding something, so you might want to know what it's going towards. But
what the writer Sarah Hayter calls information addiction is nothing short of an epidemic. In quite literal sense, politics is making Americans sick. But the sole way to contract the illness is by seeking out the news and consuming large amounts of it. And that's a choice. Hayter chose differently, deciding to go news-free for 6 months in late 2021 and early 2022. Having missed out on stories that were speculative, overhyped, or irrelevant, she reported being saner, happier, and surprisingly more informed.
That's the most YouTube ass shit I've ever heard.
Yeah, this also is
my
like,
reading
God.
news for 4 months.
yeah, I stopped
Right.
reading news for 6 months. Yeah, what's been happening around the world in the last 6 months that
Try
is,
this
is
one
making
weird
people
trick.
miserable?
Yeah.
Reporters hate this weird trick.
I mean, I could go on a bender for 6 months and feel great at, that I'm getting drunk every day and not paying attention to world events. I yes, but it doesn't mean the world's going to stop. Once you already know what's going on and it's bad, I mean, that's the problem. You can't really shut it off. Like,
Right.
you're aware. If it could, I would. I would just go back to like watching the Patriots and getting drunk on the weekend, which I still
Yeah.
do. But like,
Why not both?
I mean,
I know.
This is an argument for escapism.
It
Yeah.
is. It's also, you shouldn't get your news obviously from like Fox or CNN or MSNBC, and that's fine. Like, and we all need breaks from what's going on in the world, whether, like you said, going to a sports game, watching a movie, but you should have your sources for news information. You should be following what's going on because, like what you said, the world is not going to stop. And frankly, the escapism, the apoliticism, you're not going to solve anything because Trotsky actually said you may not be interested in politics, but politics is going to be interested in you.
Yeah, your boss.
And the only way you can change the world is if you know about it, if you're informed. And you can't do that by just shutting your eyes and pretending it's not happening. You might be a Hillary Clinton supporter who thinks you can go back to brunch, but I'm sorry, that's not how the world works.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very individualist idea. Like, oh, well, yeah, just stop looking at it and you'll feel better. Like, well, yeah, but that's like me if I'm having a bad day. Like that's not like a prescription for like how people should act on the whole. It's just someone made this point earlier, I think, maybe in the chat, but like, this article is clearly acknowledging that like what's happening in the world is very upsetting and bad, but then they're like, so just don't think about it.
Like, right. Not like don't try to stop the bad, just accept the bad and pretend the bad's not happening and life will go on. Like, I know what's going on in Gaza. Should I just go, well, I'll just shut off the news? It's upsetting for me to know that children are getting their legs amputated without anesthesia. I understand that, but that's terrible. No, this isn't the answer at all. Like, no, make the world a better place, dude. Deal with the pain. Sorry.
I mean, like, nothing I can do about it, but there is that weapons factory down the street that 100 people are occupying right now, trying to prevent weapons from leaving it. But, what can I do? So I'll just not think about it. It doesn't affect me.
Yeah, our wages are crap. Don't form unions. I work at Starbucks. Don't look at this. Like, no. Ugh, good God.
So, but does it make sense for other Americans, perhaps millions of them, to completely rethink their relationship to political information and knowledge? In a 2022 study, the political scientist Kevin Smith, I don't think it's the movie maker.
I love Clerks.
Estimated between 50 million and 85 million Americans suffer from politically induced fatigue, insomnia, loss of temper, and impulse control problems. Can anyone think of anything as to why people have
2022
fatigue over the last couple of years?
Yeah, what was going on in 2022?
I mean, it's
it was
like
saying
that a marathon runner, got tired and should take like, a week off. Like
2022.
Like, of course he's going to get tired. He ran, 26 miles, but that's what he does. I mean, you take in the world around you. The argument that, well, you can just stop taking the world in and suddenly it'll solve all your problems. I mean, come on.
Moreover, 40% of a sample of American adults reported that politics was a significant source of stress in their lives, while 5%, which would translate to roughly 12 million people, reported suicidal thoughts due to politics. I remember at the height of Greta Thunberg's celebrity was there were a lot of young people that were feeling hopeless and suicidal because of fucking climate change.
Right.
This shit's fucking real and it's bad.
Things are getting worse in the world, not better. Well, worse for the working class, The rich and the wealthy are doing better than they've ever done. The other 99% of us are not doing better. We're doing worse. We'll be one of the generations uniquely, that will actually be doing worse than our parents economically. We are doing far worse.
We're already here. Yeah.
We're already here. Right. Any chance of like a debt-free, like college being near tuition free or cheap? Gone. Cheap healthcare. Gone. Good wages. Gone.
No,
Strong
we're
union,
basically
gone.
already indentured servants. If you're not tied to a school debt, you're tied to credit card debt, or
Or you're working paycheck to paycheck.
and there's
Right.
no escape.
Right.
Or you're like, if you're lucky enough to own a house, really your bank owns it because housing prices have fucking gotten completely out of control.
Because if you miss a payment, you'll see who really owns it real quick.
Yeah.
I told a guy that more people are homeowners in Cuba than in the US, and he was like, "Oh, do they really own it, or just like do they kind of just like lease it from the government?" I'm like, "I don't know. Do you own your house, or do
Like,
you
I don't know. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So how's your fake ownership going, pal? Yeah, I know. In your car that you're making payments on too, huh? Yeah. Okay. We're doing
This
right.
is an incredible line. In another study, politically induced mental and physical symptoms appear to be more pronounced among not just the young, but specifically those who are politically engaged and left-leaning. Young conservatives, despite presumably also owning phones, experience significantly lower levels of dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're okay with the world going to hell.
Yeah.
They're making bank off of it.
Yeah, the people.
Why wouldn't they be less stressed? I mean,
It
come
must
on.
be a good
It's
time
weird.
for
The
them,
people
right?
creating and benefiting from the problems seem fine.
Yeah.
Duh.
I mean, or they just they're gonna have a warped view and they'll just blame like them triple parentheses or something about it. They'll make up fake problems.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know any left. I mean, every time I see like a massive school shooting or a massacre or a bomb, it's a right-wing person doing it. Like in Buffalo, you have the neo-Nazi shooter in Buffalo. You have the Nazi guy in South Carolina. You have the Nazi guy in Wisconsin. You have the Nazi guy in Brockton, Massachusetts. These are
what's
very
the connection?
angry right-wing people who are murderers and terrorists. But like, I don't see like any like, I don't know, Hoshaist group, laying down explosives at an embassy. I don't.
Although you must admit, if there's any lag between the time that one of those things happen and they figure out who it really is, the conservative media immediately starts spinning it as,
yeah.
I mean, they'll blame every left group. Oh, this must be a terrorist. This must be a Muslim, trans person. You name it. They throw it out there, and whether it's the truth or not, it'll get enough traction out there, and someone will tell their son, their nephew, or whatever. Oh, look at what the left is doing, and then of course comes the retraction, which no one in the conservative scene.
Or the lawsuit, which they lose, like Alex Jones or Elon Musk eventually. Yeah.
You could write a dissertation on that now, Chris.
Oh, God, I could talk a lot about that. But yeah. This article does continue.
It's strap in. In the United States, the combination of being young, engaged, and liberal has become associated with anxiety, unhappiness, and even despair. If you're a progressive, wanting your kids to be progressive is obviously understandable. It might be good for the world, but it might not be good for their health.
What? Yeah, kids.
The authors
get
of
into drugs. Don't get into politics. Way better. What?
The authors of a study on the politics of depression argue that since around 2010, left-leaning adolescents may have experienced alienation within a growing conservative political climate, such that their mental health suffered in comparison to that of the conservative peers whose hegemonic views were flourishing. Yeah, my trans friends are living in a world where every aspect of their lives is basically trying to force them to fucking kill themselves. And for some reason, this is having a negative effect on people.
Weird. You have like neo-Nazi thug groups like the Proud Boys showing up to school meetings and stuff, talking about drinking children's blood and in Article 32 of the UN. Like, it's depressing to see these idiots actually have a platform and get elected into office. So it is because this is dumb.
My favorite are like the old people that show up to like children's track and field, and there might be like an 8-year-old girl with like a bowl cut, and then just some grandpa in the audience is standing up screaming like, "That's a boy! I demand
Yeah,
that somebody
Yeah,
inspect their genitals." Like, what the fuck is wrong with you,
it's
bro?
almost like the fucking blue-haired SJWs who were like, this is going to hurt trans girls or cis girls a lot too. It probably like in greater numbers. We're right. It's almost like they had a fucking point.
But no, that's fascism. Blue-haired baristas turning our children gay is fascism,
There it is. Good.
according to our good friends on the MAGA communists. Sorry, that's a complete sidetrack.
Yeah.
That our episode on Jackson Hinkle was so like draining and horrible for me to have done that like I need a multi-episode break from ever talking about these.
We're getting you an Order of Lenin for doing this, Aaron. Someone like when Chernobyl happened, they had to have people go in and run down and throw crap on the fire for 30 seconds. You were that guy, Aaron. You were comrade firefighter, cleaning up the Stalinist mess.
Mega
Nice
liquidator. Okay, so according to this line of thinking, liberals, because of their liberalism, have good reason to be depressed. After all, life is bad, America is bad, and the world is bad.
Yeah.
The Washington Post, Taylor Lorenz.
Okay. Yeah.
Taylor Lorenz recently put it on Twitter. We're living in late-stage capitalist hellscape. But this is not true, at least not the hellscape part. Despite claims to the contrary, the United States is not experiencing civil war, nor is it under a dictatorship. It is a democracy and one of the wealthiest that ever existed.
Okay, so basically,
Here
we're not in Syria. So chin up, America. We're not going through a civil war with a dick. Yeah, okay.
Oh my God.
You're right. We don't have the Taliban. But if you were living in, say, I don't know, Ireland, you would have much of those things and be doing pretty okay with your health care, and you'd have a better pension and like have a retirement fund and shit like that. And your country's not actually selling weapons to a genocidal country.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we have a democracy where the billionaires select our leaders. Yeah, that's great.
What is even the perspective of this article? It's like, well, yeah, totally. The conservatives are happier because the world is going their way, and the left is upset because it's not. And but actually, it's good. Like
I think I think it's the audience for this. Now, this comes to us from The Atlantic. The audience is liberals, and they're basically setting them up to accept that Biden is going to lose in November.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, America is the wealthiest country that ever existed. Well, that makes me feel good that Bill Gates lives in this country because I'm a billionaire too. Right? I mean, who cares if it's the wealthy? England was once the wealthiest country, and they had people dying in poorhouses all over the place. Like,
has anyone here ever read the book Candide by Voltaire, the French Enlightenment thinker? There's a character in that named Pangloss who, despite everything that's wrong with the world and stuff that happens, he just says we live in the best of all possible worlds. And that feels like this. It's a very Panglossian text. Right. Oh, it's like you shouldn't complain. You live in the freest, the wealthiest, the most democratic country in the world. Now salute the eagle and shut up and don't think. You'll feel better about yourself. Everyone's getting wealthy. Everyone who counts anyway. So that's what this type of thing. It's like it's a poorly written Pangloss to me.
It's just sad too. Like, I'm sorry, like a dictatorship. A dictatorship is when one political party, I guess, has power. America has two, which is one more than a dictatorship, and that's why we're the greatest democracy in the world. Like, are you kidding me? Two brain-dead geriatric warmongers are now going to be our choice on the ballot. Oh, okay, great. Good democracy we have here.
I've probably said it on this show before. There's a great quote by, it was some African socialist leader who said, the United States also has a one-party dictatorship, but in classic American extravagance, they have two of them.
That was awesome. Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, you should stay in your lane, though. We're not supposed to talk about socialists in other countries.
Right.
Yeah. All right. 2024, baby. Get off the sidelines.
How dare you?
All right.
This is so good. So
Uh,
meanwhile, on
I don't
cultural,
think this is going to be good, Aaron. Every time you see something good, it actually is terrible.
You
So
should be very concerned.
I'm calling you out on that.
you should be
all
very
right?
concerned about my grin right now. Anyway,
Okay. All right.
Meanwhile-
Let's hear another good one.
meanwhile, on cultural questions, the 2010s and 20s have witnessed one of the most striking progressive shifts in American history. Conservative views are not hegemonic. In major cities and mainstream institutions, the cultural left has established a dominance that would have been unimaginable decades ago. New norms around social justice, or more pejoratively, wokeness, now prevail in the medical profession, in the U.S. government bureaucracy, and in universities. What my colleague Helen
Tell that
Lewis.
to all the professors
Yeah.
who just got whacked in the last couple weeks.
Yeah,
yeah.
Universities were always strictly conservative up in the 60s. You couldn't say anything left wing on a college campus. That's yeah.
But also, like, did anyone see what happened at fucking Columbia today? Like,
Yes.
Did the NYPD pigs
so glad
show
the
up in
woke
force?
left Columbia University fucking beat up a bunch of fucking
And did
protesters
anyone-
against
Arrested
genocide.
300 protesters. Yeah.
Yep.
Has anyone heard about Jody Dean, like the leftist professor? She lost her job for speaking out on Palestine.
Yeah,
Yep.
McCander.
Yeah.
Shitloads of professors over the decades have been witch hunted by people like Barry Weiss, developing these lists of it's basically like a new kind of McCarthyism, developing these lists of anyone who speaks out against Israel. And universities are just completely allowing it to happen.
Well, Aaron, I want to point out this article. It's called "You're Better Off Not Knowing." It's from the Atlantic. Now,
Yes,
this article says
You might
here
wanna
that that's
check it
not
out.
happening. So, Aaron, who's a
Oh,
liar?
that's fine. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay,
so-
either you're lying about people being magically arrested I've never heard of before, Columbia University, wherever that is, and this guy saying that things are great on college campuses, that you can be woke on a campus. So
why are we
one is
talking
it?
about a university in Columbia? This is America.
Yeah, this is
You know, this is so interesting. He casts the university scene as you know, a forum for students and teachers and ideas, and in reality, the shareholders, the what do you call them on college campus or at colleges, the
Trustees or
yeah, the trustees who bring the money are the reason why these things are happening.
Yeah, they call for
if it was
censorship
just
at
the sort
Harvard.
of amorphous, the students and the teachers and the battle of ideas wins out, like that's how leftoid. Well, you know, you're a student, you're going to the university, and you know, you have these big ideas, and you think, well, if I just wish hard enough, you know, the good ideas will come through and the bad idea. Yeah. Meanwhile, you've got the money, and the people who have the money actually, you know, behind the backs of the students making the real decisions. And this guy is just selling, you know, rainbows and clouds here. It's obscene.
Yeah, be a Palestinian group on a college campus and watch you all get kicked out. That
You'll find
happened
real-
at Brown,
you'll
that
find out
happened at
really
Harvard.
quick.
Yeah, like all these pro-Palestinian groups lost their right to free speech because of the government. Like it's not like the government hearings got people in trouble, and they're not letting and like the weird right is just not letting this go about like hey, I don't think we should bomb children. Oh, you're an anti-Semite. Like
Yeah.
no.
It's also even more insidious than that. The Koch brother foundation has been funding business and economic programs across the United States in every universities for decades, teaching trickle down economics and making sure as shit Marxist economics is not taught anywhere.
Jesus.
And that's why the best Marxist professors that we get are reformists like Richard Wolff. So what my colleague Helen Lewis calls woke capitalism has spread through corporations that might have otherwise been indifferent to justice, social or otherwise. The rapid acceptance of gay marriage has been nothing short of remarkable. Progress comes gradually and then suddenly. In an influential 2021 essay, the writer Richard Hanania laid out an exhaustive case for why almost every major institution in America that is not explicitly conservative leans left.
If we just go back up. Woke capitalism.
Yeah,
Here's the thing.
I knew you guys
It
were gonna love that one.
sells
Capitalism.
products.
My God.
They don't care. If they had to put
Yeah.
a swastika on a basketball to
They
sell
would.
it, they'd do it. They don't
would
give
do
a
it in a
shit
second.
what it is. My God, watch them swing far to the right just to make a buck. They don't care. They're capitalists. They don't give a shit at all. They
Do you
just don't
ever-
want to come in the way of messing with their profits. So
Did you ever see that
sure.
fake KFC commercial? It's John Goodman as the Colonel, and he's like, "I don't give a shit if you're gay. Give me your gay money." It's really,
Bingo.
it's
That's
really
it.
fucking crazy.
What?
Now
Oh,
we
you
get
never
it.
seen it?
Yep.
Oh.
All right.
Um,
There's more. Oh, Jesus. All right.
If this is true, why aren't young conservatives more depressed? Canada suggests it's because they care less about politics, but it's also likely a question of demographics. Yeah, the people that care less about politics, definitely the ones that are currently getting abortion banned right now. That's because they don't care.
A lot of them too. I've seen like a lot of them goes on like triggering the libs. Like they don't care about economic policy, minimum wage, union rights. They just want to like piss off like gay people and trans people or anybody who has a heart or has kindness. Like that's their political ideology. They don't care about they don't care about any of that stuff. It's you're talking to emotionally dead people a lot of these times who just I'm like like we work at an agency for the federal government and this politician wants to get rid of it and get rid of our union. Oh, you're just triggered, aren't you? I'm like, we're gonna lose our jobs, dude. What's wrong with you?
My
Like,
fucking God.
yeah.
Amazing. 71% of Democrats say they would not date someone who voted for the other candidate, compared with only 31% of Republicans. So the 71% of
Weird to
Democrats.
want to
I'm
share
surprised.
values with your partner.
I'm surprised it's that low. 71%. So that means 29% of Democrats are perfectly okay with dating a Nazi.
So what is your so you're not into this, you're into the final solution? All right, well let's go on our second date. All right, I can overlook that, but oh wow, okay. Oof.
He moves on to talking about progressives who have developed a habit of thinking catastrophically. The old media adage, if it bleeds, it leads, has now been repurposed for the era of equity and inclusion. Injustices are systemic, the thinking goes, and beyond the agency or control of mere individuals. White supremacy is embedded everywhere, not just in our institutions, but in our language.
One thing that was pointed out in that thing I thought was good. Can you just scroll up for 1 sec? I just want to see it here. But yeah, we've developed a habit of thinking catastrophically. What happened in 2020? Does anyone remember anything that might have been a catastrophic event worldwide that killed 1 million people in this country and made everyone lose their? I don't know if anyone knows
Chris,
what's
you're
going.
thinking catastrophically.
I know.
Just halt that thought. I think you need a good escape. Okay.
You know what? I'm watching the
maybe
news too
article.
much.
You know, it would be
That's
better for your health if you didn't think about this at all.
Yeah, that would be
Take a
good.
vacation, man.
You know, that's it. I can go with my high
Play with
wages.
the
I can go
dog, you
fly
know?
off and take all the time off. Yeah, that's gonna happen. Oh my god.
I have not read this article, by the way. Such arguments are morally questionable at best. Catastrophic thinking and negativity bias should not be encouraged, even if they lead to more just social outcomes.
What? Whoa! Whoa!
Burning chemotherapy
Oh,
might
the
help fight
gloves
the
come
cancer,
off.
but let's not talk about the cancer that you have. What? Who is this guy? Jeez.
God.
Okay. The
Ugh.
chemo might help
Wait,
fight the cancer,
so-
but
Hold on. There's an interesting juxtaposition. There's just the proximity of these two words.
yeah,
Morality, right?
right.
And just social outcomes. So
I'm
if just social
Just
outcomes
social
are not
outcomes
necessarily
are morally questionable.
right. So what is the morality we're fucking talking about here?
thank you, because I'm confused.
This is a master's degree in centrism. This
This
is
is
someone's
good.
doctoral
Yeah, this is the
statement.
radical center. I think
Radical
finally
center,
we've seen them. The
right?
rad
Yeah,
center.
that's why I enjoy triggering you guys with this bullshit.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the movie I just saw, the new Civil War film called Civil War, where it's like it's all about like a return to civility, because you have this fictional civil war in the United States, but they don't tell you who's fighting, why. It's just like completely decontextualized, and it's just like, you know what, if things could get this bad, so we should just all be civil and we should stop thinking catastrophically. It's like, you know, you're in the middle of a civil war. I think it actually does matter, like what's going on in the film. But you know, these centrists, they just like, you know, no, just be civil. Otherwise, this will happen. You know, there's no context to it. It's just bad. You know, don't think
You know,
catastrophically.
if I read my tweets right, Doug, according to Ben Burgess, you missed the point. if
Ben
you can say
Burgess is an idiot.
Holy shit.
He is an idiot who likes Joe Rogan. He's a right-wing social democrat, and he's probably one step removed from these fools. Also, you support the Democratic Party, so I don't take your opinion seriously.
Yeah.
And you also, and in addition, this is the last point I'll make on this. You like G.A. Cohen and analytical Marxism, which is horse crap. It is Marxism made safe for academia with all the Marxism drained out of it, which is kind of, in a certain sense, is like this article. It's talking about politics with all the politics drained out of it.
That's exactly the point I made about like how Koch brother foundations have been funding business and economic majors for like a long time now to drain universities of any sort of radical solutions to the problem.
Oh yeah.
Also, I did want to mention our apologies to Ben Burgess. We're going to contact you next week to come on the show. We're just gonna.
Oh, he
this
would.
maybe was probably the wrong time.
he
I
would.
didn't know
He
Doug was gonna. I
absolutely would.
apologize on behalf of the Laptop Position podcast, Ben. But maybe next week we'll have you on, buddy. Okay.
There's not
send me
a
an email.
podcast he won't go on.
He's too afraid to touch the show. That's why. Because Doug the Buzzsaw's here. So way to go, man. That tear through you, Ben Burgess. Yeah.
Some days we talk about settlers, and other days we talk about Ben Burgess. You know,
Oh,
That's how we do things.
Yes.
I really wish we could have booked him a different week. But all right.
I'm yeah, definitely revving myself up for a Settlers episode one of these days because that's gonna happen.
I'll be sitting down for it, man. It's gonna be
So
wild.
let's end this nightmare. Okay, so
God, it still goes on.
If there are a way to consume the news without catastrophizing it, then that could be one path forward. But progressives in particular have trouble doing so. For them to be aware of the ills of the world is to feel compelled to speak and act, or at least to feel. If we can't all go news free, which is difficult in the world as it is, we can at the very least establish a truce with the news. Information and knowledge can be and often are quite great, but they are not unqualified goods. Sometimes ignorance is in fact bliss.
This is the biggest load of crap I've ever had
you
in this month.
Also, a lot
I
of
want to prove this to run in a nationally syndicated journal.
It's the Atlantic.
It's so fucking poorly written too. God, like at the end there, they like backtracked like 4 times.
I want to ask the editor what the hell he was thinking passing this up.
Should we call it here then?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Thanks.
Unfortunately, DSA is going to be around, so we can talk about it.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening, everybody, and we will catch you next week.
Lots of folks back east, they say, is leaving home every day, beating the hot old dusty way to the California line. Across the desert sands they roll, getting out of that old dust bowl. They think they're going to a sugar bowl, but here's what they find. Now the police at the port of entry say, you're number 14,000 for today. Oh, if you ain't got the do-re-mi.